Good Erev Shabbos. This is Chaim speaking to you from the wild east of Crown Heights in Brooklyn, New York, where there is a convention of 4,000 of the greatest rabbis in the world. They are all equally great because they're all the emissaries of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We were discussing the topic of intermarriage. And of course, this is a topic that there's a lot of passion about. Most kids out there don't understand why there should be any problems with intermarriage. We live in a free country. We can go where we want. We can do what we want as long as it doesn't affect anyone else. We should be able to love whom we want. And nobody should interfere. And here, there's a bunch of rabbis who seem to be pointing fingers and saying, no, no, don't you dare. What you're doing is harmful. And there are some rabbis who celebrate this. They actually celebrate intermarriage, or at least tolerate it. They do intermarried couples, and they get a pretty penny for their services. Now this is a very serious topic. Why not? Why not marry whomever you love, whomever you choose? Why are there rules? Why is it so limiting? The first thing you have to know is that marriage isn't just between two people. Marriage is called a binyan adayar, an everlasting building, an edifice. And the most important thing about a marriage is the foundation of the marriage. The foundation of the marriage is not dependent upon the other person's looks, the other person's charisma, or even the other person's money. The foundation of the marriage deals with trust, likability, commonality, an ability to build a life together based upon common values and experiences. The Jewish people have a unique spirit and a unique soul, and that soul has evolved through different experiences that we Jews share with each other no matter where we are in the entire four corners of the globe. Those experiences and those spiritual heights that the Jew has achieved throughout his history, or her history, is not something that other people can relate to or have a commonality with. It's like you try to put a building on quicksand. You can have the most wonderful cement and the most beautiful structure, the best architects, most expensive furnishings, but if it's built on quicksand, the house will sink. In a marriage is a marriage built on quicksand. There is no commonality. There's no history. There's no relationship. There's no Yiddish word or Ladino word that is common to both families. You know, even in Jewish law, there's a discussion as to whether or not one should marry someone whose name is like his mother or father. If her chassan has the same name as her father. And the reason why there is such a problem, and we go around the problem, we change the names of the bride and the groom, add a name, is so there shouldn't be any strife, because if the husband calls his wife by the same name as his mother, it can sometimes tick off his mother, and vice versa. So you see how careful you have to be in relationships and the development of the interrelationship between a husband and a wife and their families. There is, unfortunately, no commonality, no similarities, no history or fears or hobbies, interests that are universal, that can bind these people together. Of course, people say, I like playing chess, I like collecting stamps. What I mean is, there are people who have a whole ability of how to look at things. And these things are drawn from the Talmudic analysis. What do you think they're so good at law? Why are Jewish people good at being lawyers and judges and doctors? Because that's the history of the people. And that history is not shared. Another thing that's important is, how long can this last? The figures for intermarriage are far higher in divorce than for Jewish couples. Even today, when there's a marked increase in divorce, there still is a higher percentage of divorces. Another thing, what legacy will you give your children? Do you know that children of mixed marriages, their children come back to synagogue only about 3%, extremely small percentage. These children will be lost to the Jewish people, no matter what your affiliation. And so, in the long term, what are you doing? You're destroying your identity, you're destroying your people. That's why it's no good. But you might say, but if I'm so good with her, or he's so good with me, how could God have made this so perfect that it should be against God's wisdom and God's Torah and God's law? Why would he make it so perfect? And the answer is, that's precisely what a test is, a test of faith, a test of one's religion. If you didn't feel comfortable, if you didn't like the person, if you didn't get along so famously, there would be no test. The purpose is not so that you marry. The purpose for the relationship is to grow and not fail that test. Well, what happens, however, if people do get married? Then it is our instruction, even though we Jews do not look for converts, that whenever there is a mixed marriage, we try to get the non-Jewish partner to convert. And just as the first Jews had a covenant with God, and they had to accept the Torah totally, we said, Nasa v'nishma, we will do, and we will obey first, and then we'll understand. So too the convert must do the same, and accept the whole Torah. And if they do, they become part of the legacy of the Jewish people, become part of that group that will bring the Messiah, so that the whole world will be a world of kindness and goodness, a whole world that will, instead of focusing on destruction and murder, will focus upon the wisdom of God and how to make society better, how to make the world better, and how to communicate with the one who created all of us and gave us all these blessings. And in those days there will be abundant blessings that are unspeakable. And the most delightful things will be as plentiful as the dust. And that will be the time when Messiah will come. May he come speedily in our times.